Nick. I'm a physical therapist for Balance Solutions Physical Therapy in Beachwood. Today we're going to go through a moderate exercise program in a standing or weight-bearing position. There's 4 specific exercises I'm going to take you through today. These are very functional-based exercises for developing strength in your quad muscle, your outer hip and muscles that we call the hip abductors, your hip extensors, those are your gluteal muscles, as well as some work in the inner thigh muscles, which are known as your hip adductors. Developing strength of these muscles really is important for activities including stair negotiation, getting up and down a curb, and or sit-to-stand transfers. So exercise number 1 that we're going to start with is a standing march or standing hip flexion exercise. So just standing with good posture here. I'm going to lift one leg at a time. I'm going to go nice and slow. And I'm going to alternate back and forth, shifting my weight side to side. This helps to work your hip flexion, number 1, which is lifting your foot up like this. That foot clearance is important for your overall gait. Second thing that this is going to work is your outer hip muscle, that hip abductor. That hip abductor is really involved when I'm standing in a single leg position, helps to support both of my hips and gives me nice balance. If you look at this positioning here, anytime you go up and down a curb, anytime you take a step with walking, as well as with stair negotiation, at some point you're going to end up in this position. So I'm going to alternate back and forth here. Usually we like to start around 8 to 10 reps, but we can surely do more depending upon your strength levels and your endurance. One way to really progress this on top of adding repetitions is to add ankle weights if you have access to them. Now, if you're someone who's struggling, let's say with some imbalance, but you still want to be able to start working your strength in standing, just do this next to either a chair or a kitchen counter or a bathroom counter, and you can hold on just like this. I can hold on with one arm, or I can turn, hold on with both hands and do the same exercise, the standing march here. So again, we're going to just go through a bunch of repetitions. We want to go fairly slow. You don't want to go too fast. The faster you go, the more momentum you're going to utilize. The slower you go, the more we can challenge the muscle engagement, muscle endurance, as well as our standing stability balance. So this exercise is what we call a standing march or standing hip flexion exercise. Next one, we're going to go into something called lateral stepping, which is known as side stepping. With this one here, I can start stepping side to side, just like this. Now, depending on how big of a room I'm in, I might take multiple steps in one direction before switching to the opposite direction. What I'm working here are 2 primary muscles. One, again, is your hip abductor. That's that outer hip muscle. The second muscle I'm going to get involved here is my inner thigh muscle, the hip adductor. Ways to progress this. I can increase my repetitions. I can decrease my respirations in between my sets. Or I can start adding a resistance band around my legs. Now with the resistance band, depending on where you place it, it's going to affect the difficulty. So if I added a resistance band above my knees versus down on my ankles, that's going to make a difference. The higher the band is on your legs, the easier it's going to get. The lower I place the band, the more challenging this then gets. So again, that's if you're starting to feel that just sidestepping in place of this is getting easier, we can add in that resistance. Now with this one here, if you don't want to sit there and try to count every single step you take, you can just set a timer on a phone or a watch or use a clock and time yourself. Start at roughly 30 seconds and see how you feel. If it feels like it's fairly easy or it's getting easier, then you can just start progressing the duration that you're doing with this exercise. Now, if you feel you have some imbalance and you're a little concerned about stumbling with this, I can do this in front of a countertop in my kitchen, in my bathroom, or use a chair like what I'm using here today, and I can hold on and step side to side, either holding on with one hand, or I can turn and face my support and step side to side this way here. So again, we call this lateral stepping or side stepping. Next exercise, this is going to start to get a little bit more challenging now. We're going to focus on a squat. Really, we're going to focus on a mini squat to a squat that's going to about half depth. With the squat, if this is something you haven't really done before, I always like having you start by being able to hold on to a support surface, like a chair or again a kitchen or bathroom counter. So I'm going to start like that today. Foot position or your base of support. We want our feet to really be at least hip width apart to slightly more so you have a nice strong foundation there. From the direction of your feet, if we can either keep the toes pointing forward or even slightly out, that's ideal. Holding on to the first component to the squat is pushing your butt back. You always want to lead with the gluteal muscles. You never just want to try and drop straight down because you'll tend to get too much low back involvement with this. So I'm going to push my butt back. I'm going to drop down. Try to keep a nice neutral spine alignment. I'm going to push back up and extend my hips forwards just like this. I'm going to repeat this exercise. So butt back, drop down, come back up, bring the hips forward, pause, and repeat. So let's go through 10 of these right now. That was 2, 3. And again, always hold on if you need to for balance, or if this is a newer exercise for you so you can work on your overall spinal alignment. So we're ready through 5 and I'm here. Now something you can't see but that I'm doing or adding an extra, when I go to push up to stand straight up, I'm pushing more through the heels of my feet than through my toes. This does help to bring in more of my heel or buttock muscles. And again, this exercise really 2 primary purposes. One is to focus on my quad strength. Quad is this front thigh muscle here. The other is to focus on my hip extensor strength or my glute muscles. These muscles, especially the quad, is vital for being able to go up and down the steps safely and to be able to lower yourself slowly down into a chair when you're performing a sit to stand transfer. Helps to really decrease risk of falling. So that is a squat. Again, focusing on either a mini squat, which is just a slight drop, or about a half squat, where you're going about half the depth of what you can probably go to. I want you to really avoid going into a real deep squat. Deep squats, you're going to run more risk of losing your balance, and it's a little bit more technical in terms of maintaining proper form from the lumbar and the pelvic region. So that's the 3rd exercise of this series. The 4th one then is a mini lunge that we're going to go through. Now a lunging exercise really focuses on, again, on quad strength, a muscle in the front of your thigh, but it can really bring in glute strength as well when we do the form correctly. For a mini lunge, especially if this is your first time doing this type of exercise, again, have a support surface to hold on to so you don't lose your balance with this. So what I'm going to do holding on to my support surface is take about a half step forward. I'm going to try and keep my trunk leaning slightly forward, and I'm going to let my knee bend a little bit. Now holding this position here, I really want to watch my knee position because I don't want that knee to cave inwards like this. This really works on your hip control. From here I'm going to come back up, and I can either then repeat with the same leg just like this, and I can go through a series of them, or I can alternate now and go to my opposite leg, again about a half step, lunge forward. Try to make sure your knee really doesn't push beyond your toes, it just helps to protect the front of the knee, and then back up. And I can alternate going back and forth just like this. This exercise, again, you want to try to perform slow and controlled. You don't want to go too quickly. That's when your form becomes affected. Your knee control might not be as good, trunk position, etc. with this one. Now, repetitions, we can start again anywhere from 8 to 10 reps if able, and then we're progressing it based upon how our form looks. So if we're starting to get to rep 8 or 9 and my form is faltering, it's time to stop and take a break. And that applies to any of these exercises we're doing today. Now I'm going to turn sideways here so you can see a different angle. So I'm going to step about halfway, lunge forward, slight trunk lean like this, back up, and then I can repeat with the opposite leg. And again, if you feel you're imbalanced or slightly unstable, just hold on for this, okay? So to reiterate today, 4 exercises. Number 1 is a standing march. Slow movement with the knees up into a hip flexion position. I'm shooting to try to get my knee pretty much level with my hip and then back down. Second exercise was a lateral step. also known as a side step. Number 3 is our mini squat. Feet about hip width apart. Push your butt back. Drop straight down like you're trying to sit in a chair. Push back up a little more through your heels until you're back to a nice straight neutral position. And then exercise number 4 was the mini forward lunge. Step about halfway, lunge forward, trunk lean, and back up. And being aware again that your knee positioning, your knee is pointing straight. All right, thank you for joining me today and enjoy.